Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Mary and today I'm going to show you how to make this lamb or sheep, whatever you want to call it. So in this video, I do go over all the skills and stitches to try to make it more accessible to beginners, but I do also speed up and skip through parts that are repetitive to keep the video from going too long. So please feel free to speed up or slow down the video to your preference. If you prefer the written pattern or want to follow along with it, you can find the PDF pattern in my shop or join my Patreon to get all my shop patterns at once. Speaking of which, thank you so much to all those who currently do support me on Patreon. I am so grateful for you and you help make all of this possible. Now let's get into the materials. You will need two types of yarn, size 6 yarn in white and size 4 yarn in cream, as well as a little bit of pink and black in size 4 yarn. You can use other colors and other kinds of yarn as long as you use two yarns with the same proportion as a size 6 and size 4 yarn. It's really important to use two types of yarn for this pattern. I'll be using a 3.75mm hook. You can use a different hook size as long as you use the same hook for the entire plushie, so pick something that you're comfortable with using for both yarn sizes. You'll also need some stuffing, scissors, some needles, and I'm using two 60mm safety eyes for my plushie, but you can replace these with a similar size or use felt, buttons, or even embroider them on with yarn. I also recommend a stitch marker, especially if you're just starting out. If you don't have one, you can use anything that you can attach and detach from a stitch. Let's start by making the head with this number 4 worsted weight yarn and cream. First, we're going to start with a magic circle, so if you don't know how to do that, start by pinching the yarn between the thumb and the pointer finger, and then wrap the yarn around the pointer and the middle finger, forming an X. Hold that in place with the middle finger, and then grab your hook, have it facing upwards, and go underneath the X, and then rotate the hook towards that lower strand of yarn on top of the middle finger, and pull it underneath the X, exiting out the top. Rotate your hook again, and this time go over the X in between those two strands of yarn on the middle finger and grab that lower strand of yarn and pull it for the loop on the hook. That's how to make a magic circle, so you should be able to pull on this yarn tail to tighten up the circle, but don't tighten it up all the way yet because we still need to make 6 single crochets inside of the magic circle. If you do need more help with the magic circle, I'll put a slower tutorial in the description below. Now let's make our single crochets, so insert the hook into the circle, make sure that you're going underneath both strands of yarn, and then grab the yarn and pull it through the circle, and then grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. That's our first single crochet, so we're going to repeat this 5 more times for a total of 6 single crochets. So insert your hook back into the circle underneath both strands of yarn and grab the yarn and pull it through that circle, and then grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. That's our second single crochet, so let's repeat this again a third time. Into the circle, grab the yarn, pull it through the circle, and then grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. Again, for a fourth time, we're going to go into the circle, grab the yarn, pull it for the circle, and then pull the yarn for the 2 loops on the hook. We're going to repeat the same thing for our fifth single crochet. And then finally, we're going to make our 6th single crochet. Once you have 6 single crochets on your circle, pull on that yarn tail to tighten up the circle all the way, and we are done with round 1. So before we start on round 2, let's grab our stitch marker and place it into the last stitch that we just made. A stitch looks like a V shape or 2 strands of yarn running across the top. Those are often called our 2 loops of the stitch. So we're going to place the stitch marker in that stitch that's attached to a loop on the hook. This will help us keep track of the end of the round. It is technically optional, but it is super helpful if you lose track of your stitches or the round. So for round 2, we're going to be making 6 increases for a total of 12 stitches. An increase is just 2 single crochets inside of the same stitch. So we're going to skip this knob on the front and go into that first stitch. And we're going to treat it like the magic circle. So instead of pulling through the circle, we're going to be pulling through the stitch. So grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch. And then we're going to grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. So just like the magic circle, but instead we're going through a stitch instead of the circle. But since we're doing an increase, we're going to make a second single crochet in that same exact stitch. So go into that first stitch again, the same one that you just went into. Grab the yarn and pull for that stitch again, and then grab the yarn and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. That's how to make an increase. So we're going to do this again in every single stitch. Go into that second stitch this time, the next stitch over, and grab the yarn and pull for that stitch, and grab the yarn and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. And we're going to repeat this again in the same exact second stitch. Grab the yarn, pull for that second stitch again, and grab the yarn and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. Now go into the third stitch and repeat the same thing. Grab the yarn and pull it through that stitch, and then grab the yarn and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. And then once again in that same exact third stitch, we're going to grab the yarn and pull it through the stitch, and then grab the yarn and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. So we're going to make 3 more increases. So again, in that fourth stitch, the next stitch over, we're going to make our first single crochet, and then we're going to make a second single crochet in that same exact stitch to make an increase. Same thing going into the fifth stitch, we're going to make 2 single crochets inside of that fifth stitch to make an increase. And finally, we're on our last stitch where our stitch marker is. Let's remove the stitch marker, and then we're going to go into that final stitch and make our 6th increase by making 2 single crochets inside of that 6th stitch. You should now have 12 stitches total, so let's count them, starting from the last stitch that we just made, connected to the loop on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you also have 12 too, we can move on to round 3. So once again, before we start on round 3, we're going to place our stitch marker into that last stitch that we just made to mark the end of the round. And for round 3, we're going to be making 1 single crochet and 1 increase, and we're going to repeat this 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. So going to that first stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. So go ahead and grab the yarn and pull for that stitch, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And we're only doing 1 single crochet this time in the stitch, so we're going to move on straight into the second stitch, the next stitch over, and we're going to make an increase in this one though. So we're going to make 2 single crochets inside of the second stitch, just like we did in the previous round. And then we're going to repeat this pattern. So in the next stitch, the third stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. And then we're going to go straight into the next stitch, and we're going to make 2 single crochets in this stitch to make an increase. So there's our first single crochet inside of that stitch, and again we're going to the same stitch and making a second single crochet to make that increase. Now going into the next stitch, again we're just going to be making 1 single crochet, just 1, and then we're going to go into the next stitch after that, and this time we're making an increase, so we're going to make 2 single crochets inside of this stitch. So we're just repeating the same thing for the entire round for a total of 6 times. So make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the stitch after that for an increase, and then 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, and our final increase, our last 2 single crochets in that stitch, should land on the one with the stitch marker. So go ahead and finish the rest of the round, and I'll see you after that. So after you completely finish round 3, you should have 18 stitches total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. If you also have 18 stitches too, then we can move on to round 4. Don't forget to add your stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made to mark the end of this round. And for round 4, we're making 2 single crochets and an increase, and repeat this 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So let's go into that first stitch, and we're just going to make 1 single crochet inside of that first stitch. So grab the yarn and pull it through that stitch, and grab the yarn again and pull it for the loops on the hook. And then we're just making 1 single crochet in the second stitch as well. And then we're going to go in the third stitch, and this time we're making 2 single crochets inside of this stitch to make an increase. So there's our first one, and here's our second single crochet. So we're repeating this pattern again. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the stitch after that, and then 2 single crochets in this next stitch to make an increase. So once again, we're back to 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and then we're doing 2 single crochets in that third stitch to make an increase. So I'll let you do the rest by yourself, but we're just repeating the same thing. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and the final increase should land on the one with the stitch marker. And you should have 24 stitches total at the end of this round. So here's what it looks like after finishing round 4. You should have 24 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. If you also have 24 stitches total, then we can move on to round 5. Make sure to place your stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made though if you haven't yet. And for round 5, we're making 3 single crochets and 1 increase, and we're going to repeat this 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. So go into that first stitch and we're making 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, we're just making 1 single crochet. Again in the third stitch, we're just making 1 single crochet. And then in that fourth stitch, we're going to be making 2 single crochets for an increase. Once again, we're making 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in that third stitch, and then 2 single crochets in that fourth stitch to make an increase. And I'll work one more set with you, so 1 single crochet in that first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and then we're making our increase, so 2 single crochets in that fourth stitch. So it's the same thing for the rest of the round, 3 single crochets and 1 increase. Repeat this 3 more times for 6 times total, and the last increase should land on the one with the stitch marker. So go ahead and work on that. You should end up with 30 stitches total at the end of this round. If you are done with round 5, make sure that you have 30 stitches total. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. If you have 30 stitches total, then we can move on to round 6. Let's place that stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made, and for round 6 we're making 4 single crochets, an increase, and we're going to repeat this 6 times for a total of 36 stitches. So let's go into that first stitch and we're going to make 1 single crochet, and then same thing in the second stitch, just 1 single crochet, same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet, same thing in the fourth stitch, 1 single crochet, and then we're making 2 single crochets in that fifth stitch to make an increase. Let's repeat this again. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, 1 single crochet in the fourth stitch, and then we're making 2 single crochets in that fifth stitch to make our increase. I'm going to do one last one with you. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, 1 single crochet in that fourth stitch, and finally we're going to do our increase in that fifth stitch by making 2 single crochets instead of that stitch. And just like before, we're going to keep repeating this to finish off the rest of the round, so 3 more times of 4 single crochets and 1 increase, and our final increase should land on the stitch with a stitch marker. So go ahead and finish the round and I'll meet you after. This is what your piece should look like after finishing round 6. You should have 36 stitches total, and make sure that you have them. If you do, then we can move on to the next round. Don't forget to place your stitch marker into that last stitch that we just made. And then for round 7, we're making 36 single crochets for 36 stitches total, so it's just 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. So go into that first stitch and make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, just 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, just 1 single crochet. Same thing in the fourth stitch, 1 single crochet. Same thing in the fifth stitch, 1 single crochet. Same thing in the sixth stitch, 1 single crochet. Same thing in the seventh stitch, 1 single crochet, and so on for the rest of the round. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, So go ahead and finish the rest of the round, just one single crochet in every single stitch all the way till the end. Your last single crochet should land on the one with the stitch marker, and again you should have 36 stitches total. So this is what your piece should look like after finishing round 7. You might notice that your piece might be bending a little bit now. So as you continue to work the next few rounds and your piece starts to get taller, just remember that this part is the outside. It kind of has more defined rounds, and then this is the inside that looks almost a little more fluffier and usually has a string on the inside. If you'd rather use the inside as the outside, that's totally okay as well. I'm just letting you know because I usually flip my piece around here. So if you see me crocheting clockwise instead of counterclockwise in the future, that is why I just flipped my piece. Now moving on for rounds 8 to 14, we're just making 36 single crochets for 36 stitches total, so just one single crochet in every single stitch all the way around for the next 7 rounds. So just repeat what we did in round 7 more times, and I'll see you when we get back. Welcome back. This is what your piece should look like now. You should have 14 rounds total. So let's count them to make sure that we have them. Starting from that magic circle, that's our first round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So for round 15, we're using a mix of this white number 6 super bulky weight yarn and also a mix of the number 4 worsted weight yarn in our original cream color. So we're making 3 single crochets in white, followed by 2 single crochets in cream, 3 single crochets in white, and repeat that 6 times, and then 3 single crochets in white for a total of 36 stitches. Since we're changing color to white at the beginning of this round, we're going to have to prepare for the color change in the stitch before. This means that we're going to have to undo part of the last single crochet that we made in the round before. So pull on the working yarn, which is the yarn that's attached to your ball of yarn, until you pull out half of that single crochet. Until you have those 2 loops, which is the first half of our single crochet, and insert your hook back into those 2 loops. And then we're going to instead finish off the single crochet with the new color. So grab your white yarn, and just like we usually do in the second half of a single crochet, we're going to pull that white yarn for the 2 loops on the hook. It can be a little tricky since it is a thicker yarn, but once you pull the yarn for those 2 loops, go ahead and tie the end of that white yarn to the cream yarn to secure them in place. I usually like to tie it at least twice to make sure that it's secure. Now we can start crocheting with this new white yarn, so go into that first stitch and make 1 single crochet. It's the same as before, so grab the yarn and pull it through that stitch, and then grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. Same thing in the second stitch, we're just making 1 single crochet inside of it. Same thing in the third stitch, we're also making 1 single crochet, but we're changing color into the cream yarn again in the next stitch. So we're only going to do half of the single crochet in white in order to prepare for the color change. So pull the white yarn through the stitch, you should have 2 loops on your hook. And then we're going to finish off that single crochet with the cream yarn and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. We're now ready to crochet with this cream yarn, so go into the next stitch and make 1 single crochet. And we are making 1 more single crochet in cream in this next stitch, but then we are changing colors into the white yarn after that. So we do need to prepare for a color change here. So we're just going to pull the cream yarn for the stitch. And then we're going to finish off that single crochet with the white yarn by pulling the white yarn instead through the 2 loops on the hook. Now we're going to make 3 single crochets in white, so 1 single crochet each in the next 3 stitches. And then remember in the last one, we need to prepare for a color change, so grab the white yarn and pull for the stitch, and then we're going to grab the cream yarn instead to finish off that single crochet by pulling it for the 2 loops on the hook. Now again, we're making our 2 single crochets in the cream color. So there's our first single crochet, and again in the second one, we need to prepare for changing colors. So only pull the yarn through once for the stitch, and then we're going to grab the white yarn and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. Now back to making our 3 single crochets in white, so 1 single crochet in each stitch for the next 3 stitches. And again, we're changing colors after the 3rd stitch. So we're going to pull for those 2 loops with the cream color. And then we're going to make our 2 single crochets in the cream and prepare to change colors on that 2nd single crochet. So pulling that white yarn through the 2 loops on the hook. And then back to making our 3 single crochets in white, and then getting ready to change color on our last stitch. So pulling the white yarn for the stitch, And then again pulling the cream yarn instead for the 2 loops on the hook. Back to making 2 single crochets in the cream yarn. And on that second single crochet, again, we're changing color after this. So pull the white yarn instead for the 2 loops on the hook. And then once again, we're making our 3 single crochets in the white. And then on that third single crochet, again, we're changing color right after this. So again, pull the cream yarn for the 2 loops on the hook. Once again, we're doing those 2 single crochets in cream. And again, preparing to change color on that second single crochet. So pulling the white yarn for the 2 loops on the hook. And then we're making 3 single crochets in the white. And remember on that last stitch, we're preparing to change color, so pull the cream yarn for the 2 loops on the hook. And then we're going to make 2 single crochets in cream. And then again, in that single crochet in the second stitch, we're preparing to change color again, so pull the white yarn for the 2 loops on the hook. This will be the last time we're changing colors, so yay, we're almost done. And finally, we're just going to do 6 single crochets in white, 1 single crochet in each stitch, all the way until we reach the end of the round. Now cut off the cream yarn. We won't be using that anymore for the rest of the head. Just set it aside for later for when we make the ears and the feet. And then secure it by tying it to the end of the white yarn at the very beginning of the round. Just make sure that you're not pulling on the yarn too much where it starts scrunching up your plushie. You want to leave enough slack in the yarn so that it lines up with the circumference of the piece and it isn't pulling in the piece and scrunching it up. So we can now move on to the next round. Don't forget to place your stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made. And for round 16, we're just making 36 single crochets continuing in the white. So going into that first stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, we're making 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet. And now we're going to go into that cream stitch and we're going to make another single crochet inside of it. Same thing in the next cream stitch. Back to the white stitches, so 1 single crochet in each of the white stitches. Now we're going to make our single crochets in the cream stitches, so 1 in each stitch. Now back into the white stitches, we're going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch. And then again in the cream stitch, we're going to make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the next cream stitch, another single crochet. And now we're back into the white stitches, so 1 single crochet in each of those 3. And then our next single crochet lands in that cream stitch. And again in the next cream stitch. Then we're back to putting our next single crochet in the white stitch. Our next single crochet is in the second white stitch. And then we're going to make a single crochet in that third white stitch. And then we're going to place our single crochet in the cream stitch. And also in the next cream stitch. And now we're back to the white stitch. Another single crochet in the second white stitch and also the third white stitch. And then our next single crochet is inside of the cream stitch. Also a single crochet in the next cream stitch. And now we're back to the white stitches. So we're going to make our final last 6 single crochets instead of these 6 white stitches. And our 36 single crochet of this round should land on the one with the stitch marker. So we're now going to repeat the exact same thing for round 17 to 20. So make 36 single crochets, 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around for the next 4 rounds. So make 36 single crochets 4 more times and I'll see you when we get back. Hello again, so you should now have 20 rounds total, so let's count them starting from that magic circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So before we start on the next round, let's place our eyes and also add our mouth. This flat part right here is the back of our sheep's head, so we want to place the eyes at the front, so let's count these puffs. Starting with this puff on the side of the flat part, 1, 2, 3, and the third puff is where we're going to place our first eye. So the eyes are going to be placed between rounds 11 and 12, so counting from that magic circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So we're going to place our first eye between rounds 11 and 12, aligned with the side of the puff. And then we're going to grab our second eye and we're going to count 5 stitches to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to place our second eye here. And just make sure that your eyes are roughly lined up with the 2 puffs above them and that they're centered to your face. Once you're happy with the placement, go ahead and add your backings to secure them in place. Now we're going to embroider on our mouth, so grab your needle. I like to use this thinner needle since the yarn is thinner. And we're going to thread that through a black strand of yarn, which is also a number 4 worsted weight size. Then we're going to start from inside of our plushie and we're going to place it in between the 2 eyes between rounds 10 and 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in between these 2 rounds, we're going to push the needle through, exiting out right next to the eye, maybe a stitch over. Pull the yarn through and then we're going to insert the needle close to the other eye on the other side. Make sure that it's around the same distance apart from each eye, and then pull the yarn through back into the inside of the plushie, and then going for the inside, we're going to exit 3 rounds down. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to push the needle out here, center to the line that we made earlier with the black yarn. Pull the yarn all the way through, and then we're just going to loop under that line that we made earlier with the black yarn. Pull the yarn all the way through, and then we're going to insert the needle back into that same exact spot that we exited out of 3 rounds down. Pull the needle all the way through and just tight enough where it pulls down that line that we made in the very beginning, down a little bit into a triangle shape. Once you're happy with how it looks, go ahead and tie the 2 ends of the black yarn inside of the plushie to secure it in place. Now grab your stuffing and we're going to start adding stuffing into the head and we're going to continue stuffing as we continue going. So don't stuff it all the way full yet since we still need to make a few more rounds to close up the head. A tip that I have for stuffing is just to use smaller chunks. That way it's easier to mold it to the shape of your plushie and then you won't accidentally overstuff it too much. Now let's make round 21, and for round 21 we're making 4 single crochets and a decrease and repeat this 6 times for a total of 30 stitches. I like to do the invisible decrease method, so that's what you'll see me show you in this round. But if you know how to do the regular decrease and you prefer to do that, you can go ahead and do that as well. So going to that first stitch, we're just making 1 single crochet inside of it. Same thing in the second stitch, just 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet. Same thing in the fourth stitch, 1 single crochet. Now we're going to make an invisible decrease. A decrease is the opposite of an increase. An increase adds more stitches, but a decrease instead removes one by crocheting 2 stitches together. So remember, a stitch has 2 strands of yarn running across the top. Those are our 2 loops. When we make an invisible decrease, we're only going to go for that front loop with our hook. So instead of going for the full stitch, we're only going to go for that front loop or half the stitch. We're ignoring the back loop. And then we're also going to go into the front loop of the next stitch as well. So going for the front loops of 2 stitches. You should now have 2 loops on the hook because we're ignoring the back loops, leaving them alone. And now we're going to grab the yarn and we're going to pull through both of the front loops of both stitches. And then we're going to grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. That's how you make an invisible decrease. So we're repeating this, so 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, 1 single crochet in that fourth stitch, and then again we're making our invisible decrease. So again, remember, we're only going for the front loops of the next 2 stitches. And now we're going to grab the yarn and pull it for those 2 front loops, and grab the yarn again and pull it for the 2 loops on the hook. Once again, we're making 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, 1 single crochet in the fourth stitch, and then we're going for the front loops of the next 2 stitches to make our invisible decrease. So there's the first front loop, and there's the second front loop of the next stitch. Grab the yarn and pull for those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. We're continuing to repeat this for the entire round. 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, 1 single crochet in the fourth stitch, and then again we're going for the front loop of the next stitch and also the stitch after that. Grab the yarn and pull for those 2 loops, and grab the yarn again and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. Let's repeat this again. 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet again in the stitch after that, 1 single crochet again in the next stitch, 1 single crochet again in the fourth stitch, and then again we're doing our invisible decrease, so we're only going to go for the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Grab the yarn and pull for those 2 stitches, and grab the yarn again and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. We're almost done, so 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, again 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then finally 1 more single crochet in the stitch after that, and then we're going to remove our stitch marker because we're down to our last 2 stitches. And then we're going to do our final invisible decrease of this round. So we're going to go for the front loop of the next stitch and also the stitch after that, our last stitch. Grab the yarn and pull for those 2 front loops. Grab the yarn again and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. And we should now have 30 stitches total. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Don't forget to place your stitch marker into the last stitch that we just made, and for round 22 we're making 3 single crochets, a decrease, and repeat this 6 times for a total of 24 stitches. So going into that first stitch we're going to make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, we're making 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, we're making 1 single crochet. And then now we're making our decrease, or I like to do the invisible decrease. So I'm going for the front loops only of the next 2 stitches, pull the yarn for the 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. Again, we're doing 1 single crochet in the next stitch, since we're repeating this again. Same thing in the second stitch, 1 single crochet. Same thing in the third stitch, 1 single crochet, and then again, make that invisible decrease, going for the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. Grab the yarn and pull for those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And then once again, I'm going to do one more with you. We're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, 1 single crochet in the third stitch, and then again, we're going to make our decrease, or the invisible decrease as I like to do. Going for the front loops only in the next 2 stitches, grab the yarn, pull for those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And keep repeating this to finish off the round. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, a decrease to combine the next 2 stitches, and then just keep repeating this until you reach the last stitch with the stitch marker. So once you're done with round 22, you should have 24 stitches total. Make sure to count them. And then for round 23, we're making 2 single crochets and a decrease, and repeat this 6 times for a total of 18 stitches. So going to that first stitch, we're going to make 1 single crochet. Same thing in the second stitch, 1 single crochet. And then we're going to make our invisible decrease again, where you could do the regular decrease, so go into the front loops only and then grab the yarn, pull for those 2 front loops, and then for the 2 loops on the hook, back to 1 single crochet. Same thing in the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and then again we're making our invisible decrease, or the regular decrease if you prefer to do that. And I'll do one more with you, 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and then our invisible decrease combining the next 2 stitches. And then just keep repeating this, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, invisible decrease, or regular decrease, whatever you prefer, and just keep repeating this until you get to the end of the round. So once you finish round 23, this is what your piece should look like. You should have 18 stitches total, so make sure that you count them. And then go ahead and grab your stuffing and add more stuffing into the head. We have just 2 more rounds to go after this, and then we'll be done with the head. So once you're done adding more stuffing, grab your hook again, and then for round 24, we're making 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, and repeat this 6 times for a total of 12 stitches. So go into that first stitch and make 1 single crochet. And then we're making an invisible decrease directly after that, going for the front loops only of the next 2 stitches, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then for the 2 loops on the hook. And then back to 1 single crochet again, repeating the pattern. And then again, we're making an invisible decrease. Same thing again, 1 single crochet, and then an invisible decrease. And then keep repeating this pattern, 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, and repeat that 3 more times, and you should get to the end of the round. So this is what your piece should look like now after you finish that round. You should have 12 stitches total, make sure to count them, and go ahead and add any more stuffing if you have more space inside of your plushie that could use some stuffing. However, avoid stuffing the head too firmly with too much stuffing, otherwise there's a chance that your lamb might fall over because the head is too heavy. So for round 25, we're just making 6 decreases for 6 stitches total, so go into the front loops of the first 2 stitches, grab the yarn and pull for those 2 front loops. Grab the yarn again and pull for the 2 loops on the hook. Repeat this again. Again, we're just making another invisible decrease or regular decrease if you prefer to do that. Same thing again. Let's make our third decrease or invisible decrease. And now let's make our fourth one. Our fifth one. And finally, let's remove that stitch marker and we're going to make our final invisible decrease here. And now that we are left with only 6 stitches, we can fasten off. So if you're not sure how to do that, grab the yarn and pull it through the loop on the hook. And we're going to want to leave some extra yarn, so pull a good amount of yarn out before cutting it off. We're going to be using this extra yarn to sew up the whole of our plushie and secure everything. After you cut off the yarn, pull the yarn all the way through the loop. And then we're going to finish adding any last stuffing that we want to add into the head, but remember, don't stuff the head too firmly just to keep it from being too heavy. You do definitely want enough though to keep the shape of the head. After you're finished stuffing, grab your yarn needle. I'm using this thicker one this time for this thicker yarn. And let's close up the hole at the top of our plushie. So how I like to do this is I like to weave in and out of the stitches next to the opening. So going in for that first stitch, and then going out for the second stitch, and then back in, and then out, and then back in again, and out one more time. And then just pull tight and it should close up the hole. And then when you're ready to secure off everything, you can either just go straight into hiding the yarn inside of the plushie by pulling the yarn for the plushie with the needle, or I like to be a little extra for my own peace of mind and add some extra steps. So one extra step that I do is I insert the needle through a nearby spot, and then I pull it through, leaving a little slack in the yarn, and then I put the needle through that slack and pull tight. And then as another extra step, I like to knot the yarn a few times, just big enough so it doesn't easily get pulled out of the plushie, but also not too big where it's impossible to pull it through with the needle the first time, because we do want to be able to hide this inside of the plushie afterwards. And finally, we're just going to hide everything inside of the plushie, so push the needle through a nearby spot and pull the yarn all the way through to the other side of the plushie, pulling that knot through and the yarn. This lets the yarn get caught up inside of the plushie, and then if I have extra yarn like I do now, then I'll just go for the same spot that I exited out of again so it doesn't show on this different colored yarn, and then pull the yarn towards the other side once again just to get it more caught up inside of the plushie. So I think it's pretty common for people to just skip to this last step without doing the previous 2 steps, and sometimes I just do this part too when I'm making plushies for myself, and I haven't really had a problem with it, so really it's up to you. And after you're done, just push down the plushie and cut off the extra yarn and puff out the plushie again to hide the yarn fully inside. And yay, we are done with the head.